excited about today's podcast. We are getting real about procrastination. If you are a woman juggling a million responsibilities such as work, kids, relationships, home, friends, personal goals, you know what it feels like to put things off, right? I'm not the only one. Maybe it's avoiding that difficult conversation with your partner or a friend or a family member, but it just feels too exhausting to deal with it. Or maybe letting your self-care slip because you're constantly prioritizing everyone else. Or maybe you're pushing aside your personal goals because work and family always come first. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know it's not just you. There are deeper reasons for why we procrastinate. And today I am breaking down 3 of the biggest ones. And I'm so excited to share this with you. I'm going to share a little bit about each one of these and give you just a few fixes for them. And you can give it a try to see how it works out for you. So here are the 3. There are so many reasons, first of all, but these are the 3 that I want to talk about in today's podcast because they really resonate with me. And I know that right now in my life, they're the biggest ones that are more likely to cause me to procrastinate. So number 1 is decision overload. Number 2 is emotional avoidance. And number 3 is identity conflict. I'm going to go over all 3 of them and give you a few fixes, like I said, for each so you can give them a try. Now, decision overload. When your brain is just absolutely done by the end of the day, right? If you can imagine like a graph, right? At the very, beginning of the day, you're, performing at your very best. And as the day goes on and your willpower and energy is sort of like on its way down, and then slowly, by the time bedtime comes, you are done. You just want to put your head down, go to sleep, and start the day over again, right? So saving really big decisions for the end of the day, probably not a good idea, such as, paying important bills or making a big decision or working out. So decision overload takes place. And we say things like, I can't even think about this right now, or I'll figure it out later, or I'm just too tired to deal with this. Women make thousands of decisions every single day, from what to cook for dinner, to how to handle work stress, to whether your child should take piano or soccer. Your brain is constantly processing. Researchers call this decision fatigue. The more decisions you make, the worse your brain gets at making them. By the time you get to the tasks like meal prepping or organizing your house, even doing something fun for yourself, your brain is just spent. So what does it do? What do we end up doing? We end up procrastinating. Our brain just says, let's deal with this tomorrow. Now, here's the science behind this. A study from the University of Minnesota found that people who make too many decisions experience a drop in willpower and cognitive function. This explains why you can be super productive in the morning, but feel completely drained by evening. Now, here's a real life example. Let's say you're a mom of 3. You wake up early to pack lunches, get the kids ready, and make sure everything is where, it needs to be. At work, you handle emails, projects, other people, and maybe even make a tough call on, business when it comes to business. At 5 p.m., you're faced with additional decisions, such as what to cook for dinner, whether you should, reply to that friend request to stop by and hang out with them or grab a drink with them, or you're struggling with how to fit in your workout and your busy evening schedule. Instead of tackling any of this, what you end up doing the minute you get home is you grab your phone, you scroll on Instagram, and you convince yourself that tomorrow you'll think about some of these things, like replying to a friend or, getting in a workout or getting some more things done off your to-do list. And the thing is, tomorrow never comes, right? The cycle just sort of repeats. Now, obviously, there isn't like an overnight fix to decision fatigue, but here are a few things that you can try and to improve productivity in your life, right? So here's some things. Let me give you 3. Pre-decide small things. Use either or choices. And tackle big decisions in the morning. So let me break this down. Pre-decide small things, such as meal plans for the week. You can make those plans on Sunday. Maybe you can do grocery shopping over the weekend, like your least busiest day of the week. Maybe Sunday is really busy for you. So pick a day of the week that you are not so super busy, right? And that is the day that you can pick to plan some of these things ahead of time, such as meal prepping, catching up on laundry, things like that. You can set aside clothing or set aside a set of clothing that you're going to be wearing so that you're not having to think about what you're going to be wearing for the day every morning. That takes so much time and it takes so much willpower and just brain power. And also have a go-to decision for common choices. If you have children, maybe this is something you can try with them. If you have teenagers, other adults living at home, divide this up and have a conversation about, what are some common answers that people can get. Like maybe you can come up with a few ahead of time and post them somewhere in the house so that people are not always coming to you to ask questions about things that you have already answered, or things that they should know the answer to, right? So all of this is to say less thinking equals less procrastinating. You're not spending so much brain power answering every question, doing really small things every day, all day, so that, which basically leads to procrastination. The second suggestion that I have for you is use either or choices. Instead of thinking, what should I eat? Give yourself a choice. Say salad or a sandwich, pasta or rice. Instead of what workout should I do, or should I even work out? Say yoga or walking. This type of decision makes it less overwhelming for your brain. It's like a toddler. When you give a whole box of crayons and you ask him to pick a color, it's going to be really hard for him to pick. But if you say, do you want orange or do you want blue? Chances are he's going to pick one or the other. The same thing applies to our brains. If we give it less options or, less open-ended questions, I guess, such as what should I eat, then it's going to use less power to make that decision. So use either or choices. And maybe you can come up with some ahead of time, especially for your younger children or teenagers that might be living with you, come up with some either or choices. This way they get an answer to their questions, and they also get this feeling like they're making a choice. And then lastly, take and tackle your big decisions in the morning, if it is at all possible for you. You may have read the book Eat the Frog by Brian Tracy, and basically research shows that your brain has the most willpower in the morning. If you need to book appointments, organize schedules, write that tough email that you've been dreading, do budgeting, catch up on your bills, any of these important things, do it before noon. All right, so that was number 1, decision overload. Number 2, emotional avoidance. When procrastination is really about feelings, right? So when you say things like, I'll do it when I feel ready. I just can't deal with it right now. I'll think about it later, right? Procrastination isn't just about time. It's about avoiding uncomfortable emotions. That's basically like the the basics of procrastination. You don't want to work out. You would much rather be on your phone. There's a reason for that. You're trying to avoid an uncomfortable activity, right? Working out, even for those of us who are, habitual, gym goers, working out still can be, a task. So, sometimes you might want to avoid it. And the reason for that is you're trying to avoid something uncomfortable. So for women, this shows up as not scheduling, appointments for themselves, to take care of themselves, because we're always putting other people first. Avoiding a difficult conversation with someone, like a friend, a partner, family member, a parent, because you're afraid of conflict. You're just afraid of that, what it might result in your conversation. Putting off decluttering, for example, because it brings up guilt about wasted money. This is a big one. So the science says that the brain processes emotional pain the same way it processes physical pain. When I first read this, my mind was blown. I couldn't believe it. Like, I had to go back and read it again. That our brain processes emotional pain the same way it processes physical pain. This means when a task triggers guilt, fear, or shame or overwhelm, our brain sees it as something to escape from, to run away from. Just like it would avoid touching a hot stove, right? Like, no wonder when you open your garage door and all you see are, boxes upon boxes of things that have been sitting there for years, you just want to close that door and walk away from it, because there's, you might feel guilt, you might feel overwhelm or shame, and you just don't want to face it, so you walk away from it. Now, here is a real life example for you. Let's say you need to have a serious conversation with your partner about finances, but every time you think about it, it's like you would much rather do anything else but talk about finances. You don't want an argument. You don't want to feel judged. So instead, you avoid the topic, even though it's causing stress in your relationship. This might be your partner. This might be, another family member. Maybe this is like your partner in business. Maybe this is a parent. So we procrastinate because we're trying to avoid, certain emotions. Now, here are just a couple of fixes on the very surface level, right? Because this takes some intentional time and work to overcome, forever. But very first step, here are a few first step fixes. Number 1, use the 5-minute rule, and I'll go into that in a second. Number 2, pair it with comfort. And number 3, ask yourself, what am I really avoiding here? So number 1, use the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I only have to do this for 5 minutes. Set a timer and start the task. And do this with the garage. Do this with your bills. Do this with exercise. Do this with folding laundry. Do this with, an email that you might be writing. Write the first draft and then stop the timer and come back to it. Now, if you want to keep going, you've got a momentum going, then by all means, keep going, keep working on it, beyond the 5 minutes. So whether it's looking at your budget, making a phone call to a friend or making a phone call to make an appointment, organizing bills, or I remember there was this time when I just hated shredding things. And now I'm like, if there's a piece of trash, I want to be the first one to shred it. But I hated shredding. And so I had this massive pile of things that I needed to shred. And I refused to throw it out, of course. But, setting a 5-minute timer for things that are not your favorite, and it's not something you look forward to, and it's overwhelming, or it brings up other emotions. Start with the 5-minute rule. And that is just the very beginning of a fix, quote unquote fix. right? It's the very first step on that ladder um, to overcoming this, procrastination habit. And what it also does is it starts reducing your anxiety about this particular task. Okay. Now, the second one I suggested you try is pair it with comfort. If you're avoiding a stressful task, add something enjoyable, such as light a candle while you're doing builds. I laugh because this sounds funny, but here's the thing. If you don't enjoy doing something, but you really need to do it, then see if you can add some enjoyment, just to take away the sting a little bit. Maybe turn on your favorite music, make a cup of coffee, make some tea, and just, like I said, apply the other 5-minute rule and work on it for 5 minutes. If there are other things that don't need your 100% concentration, like cleaning the garage or raking leaves or whatever, make a phone call a friend and talk to your friend for 5 minutes while you fold laundry or put away laundry or go through like old bags of clothes. What it does is it pairs this activity that we don't really enjoy doing with something comfortable, like talking to a friend, catching up with a friend. And again, this is like the first step towards overcoming procrastination in this particular area, which is emotional avoidance, right? We procrastinate because we're trying to emotionally avoid a feeling, an emotion. And then the last one is ask yourself, what am I really avoiding? Now, I suggest that you don't try this first. Try the 5-minute rule and the pair it with comfort first. Once you've done that for a while, then you're more likely to reflect and ask yourself, what am I really avoiding, right? So you can ask yourself about, let me just use a garage example here. You can say, hey, I've been working on this garage for a week, 2 weeks now, and I've gotten better at it, but still, I really dread setting the 5-minute timer, coming here and working on this. What am I really avoiding? And name the emotion. It might be guilt, fear, shame, overwhelm. When you name the emotion, it takes away its power. I didn't know this before coaching. I did not first of all, I didn't know it. And then when I learned about it, I didn't believe it until I tried it for myself. And let me tell you, it really does work. When you name an emotion, you take power away from it. You take power over it, right? When you understand the root, you can address it. And then you can be gentle and kind to yourself. Maybe you are ashamed about whatever circumstances that led to your garage full of whatever may be there, right? And then you can say, I see you, shame. I see you are present, right? I see you here. And honestly, just me saying that just brings this calm over me, because there are many things that I am also shameful of. And when I acknowledge it, when I name the emotion, I take power over it. And it doesn't manage me, I manage it. So asking yourself, what am I really avoiding? Not just in this case, but really in anywhere in your life, like any area of your life. Naming the emotion and taking power over it is such a powerful strategy. I promise you that it will make a difference if you give it a try in your own life. Okay? All right, so number 3. So we did decision overload. Number 2 was emotional avoidance. And number 3 is identity conflict. When you procrastinate because it doesn't feel like you. So this is something that, again, I learned back when I was introduced, to coaching 8 years ago. Saying things like, I'm just not an organized person. I'm messy. I'm a hot mess, right? Like labeling yourself a hot mess. I've never been good at that. I've never done that before. And I know this from just personal experience, just living my own life, but also as a teacher, and a college instructor, I know that students always say this. I've never done this before. Like I've never, I'm not good at this. And this is something that they identify with. They cling to this identity of I'm not this person or I'm not that person without giving it a try. Sometimes we procrastinate because we don't see ourselves as the kind of person, who does a certain thing. So if deep down you believe I'm not athletic, you'll procrastinate working out or participating in a 5K race or whatever, right? If you believe I'm bad with money, you'll put off budgeting. If you believe things like I'm a messy person, I'm just messy, I'm disorganized, you'll avoid organizing, right? The science behind this says that when people try to adopt habits that conflict with their identity, they experience resistance, even if they consciously want to change. Okay, so now let me give you like a really common real life example that I know I can 100% relate to. And that is being a morning person. Okay, so say you are a busy working mom or working adult. You want to wake up early, you want to pray, you want to journal, you want to maybe exercise, you want to take a walk, but every night you tell yourself, I'm not a morning person. How am I going to do this? Right? Like having that sort of like the word that comes to my brain is a wet blanket, like having that sort of like a wet blanket sort of attitude about yourself because you believe this about yourself, right? So you snooze the alarms in the morning and then you feel guilty about it. And, your procrastination, doesn't wake you up. You keep snoozing that alarm. So you don't wake up when you want to wake up. And at the end of the day, it's about your identity, right? You identify as a person who does not wake up early in the morning. You're not a morning person. So then you are not a morning person. You do not take the steps to become a morning person. Because even setting the 10 or 20 alarms that you set, it's like this resistance. When you hit the snooze button, it's a resistance against, the change that you want to introduce to your life. Now, how do you fix it, quote unquote, fix it? These are like first step fixes. These are not, you don't just do this once and then it's all fixed. Right? That's what I mean to say. So number 1 is reframe your identity. Number 2 is find small wins. And number 3 is act as if. So let me go into detail here. So reframe your identity. Instead of I am not a morning person, say I am becoming the type of person who wakes up early. Right? Small shifts will create big changes over time. So imagine a ladder where at the very bottom of the ladder, you have, I'm not a morning person. And at the very top, you have, I am a morning person. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, regardless of the day. Now, you're not going to make that massive jump in, one day, 1 week, or a month. You are going to take step by step. Each step of the ladder has to be a different thought. So if you normally wake up at 7:30 and you wish to wake up at 5, maybe you can start working your way backwards 5 minutes at a time, 10 or 15 minutes at a time. So you're not a 5 a.m. person yet, but you're becoming a 5 a.m. person. So the very first step can be, I am a 7:15 a.m. person. Right? Or I am a 7:20 a.m. person. That's easier to do. If you normally wake up at 7:30 after hitting all the snoozes, 7:20, it's doable, right? And so you do that for a week. Then the next week, maybe you can try, I am a 7:10 a.m. person, right? That's doable from 7:20 to 7:10. Okay, we can do that. So see, like you build yourself up the ladder, one step at a time, and you are believing this new thought about yourself one step at a time. You are no longer repeating to yourself, I'm not a morning person, right? You are becoming a morning person 10 minutes at a time. Okay, that's reframing your identity. Number 2 is find small wins. List 3 times you followed through on something in the past. This helps your brain see that you are capable. So I am, I don't wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, but I have gotten up at 5 or 4, even earlier for a flight. If you need to leave for a flight, if you need to take somebody to the airport, I'm also a photographer, so if I have to meet a client for sunrise sessions, and for that, I have to wake up very early to make sure that I am where I'm supposed to be before the sun rises. And so I can tell myself, hey, you know what, brain? We've done this before. We are capable of this. So, 10 minutes at a time, we can climb that ladder up. 10 minutes at a time. You can shift that identity a little bit at a time and find those small wins. And number 3, you have act as if. So ask yourself, what would a productive person do right now? And then do that, right? Even if it's for 5 minutes. Now let me insert something here. I don't ask my clients that they should strive to be productive every moment of every day. That's not the human experience, right? So we need rest in our lives. But I teach my clients that if you need rest, then that is what you should do. If you need rest, you should not be on your phone, scrolling through social media, paying bills, catching up on missed emails or phone calls, or watching TV, watching Netflix. That's not rest. Rest is different for each person. To me, rest is closing my eyes, washing my face, taking a bath, drinking, a cup of tea, just walking in the grass. Like, take your shoes off, go walk on the grass, sitting in the sun, taking a nap, walking, go for a short walk down the street and come back. That's rest for me. Resting is not scrolling on social media. It is not, because here's the thing, give this a try, the next chance you get. Sit down with an intention to rest and then watch TV or scroll on social media. And then after that allotted time, say you had 30 minutes set aside to rest, quote unquote, ask yourself if you've really rested. I promise you the answer is going to be no. Because what you're doing is you're inputting more information in your brain. You are, watching all these reels. Maybe some of them are happy or funny. Some of them are full of drama. So your heart rate is going up and down, and then you go down a rabbit hole. So that is not true rest. If you need to rest, then rest, right? So ask yourself, what would I be doing if I were resting right now? What would I be doing if my purpose is to be productive right now? And then do that. Like I said, even if it is for 5 minutes. Okay. So I know this was a lengthy podcast, but my goal was to share with you, why we procrastinate and how to stop it on a very surface level, because that's where we start. And then we go, dive deeper. So decision overload, some of the reasons we procrastinate, decision fatigue, emotional avoidance, and then identity conflict. We want something, but we're telling something else to ourselves. Like, we want to be morning people, but then we're telling ourselves, I'll never be a morning person. And then I'm a night owl. And then you stay up till 3 a.m. So those are some of the big reasons. And obviously there are other ones that I'll be talking about here on this podcast, but those are some of the big ones I wanted to talk about here for the second episode, to help you, give you some perspective on procrastination, right? Now, if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to set up a consultation call with me. I would love to invite you to work with me. During a consultation call, I help you to create a plan, to help you follow through, without stress or guilt, and, help you figure out which areas of your life are affecting you the most when it comes to procrastination, and how you see your life. What would your life be like if procrastination didn't stand in your way, right? And also, I would love it if you can share this podcast with your friends, your family on social media, and just get the word out about, productivity, clean productivity, and a way to stop procrastinating. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I cannot wait to share more with you next week. So, have an awesome and amazing week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.